Welcome to episode 5 of Poppa's Corner with Lito. And this one, so for context, I paused the podcast because I was in the middle of leaving my career as an educator. So I could spend some more time at home with my boys, and between my responsibilities at home, work, I just put pause. And it really hit my mental health. So I actually wanted to do this episode in time for Mental Health Awareness Month. It's still possible that it will go down at that time. But this is just something that I battled with as I was leaving a job I loved, a group of people that I truly cared about, a work family, you could say, right? So this episode really made me think about myself and my journey and my mental health journey and how it helped me become a better father and how I treat my boys, but also my wife and those around me, and I just try and be a resource. But for my father, something I want to say before we start. Sometimes we hear the word postpartum. I know this is really abrupt, but we hear the word postpartum depression and we think that it's only for the mother of our child, when in reality, we don't notice that we seek emotionally through that process, right? And as we're trying to build and mold a home, right? And when that happens, you take on a lot of emotional damage, you could say, within the process, because a lot of the times you might find yourself being on autopilot because you want to be strong for everybody involved, or for yourself. Then it becomes detrimental in the sense that you are not taking care of yourself, and then you might be falling into a black hole that you don't know is there. And if you just take one slip, and one thing I'm going to say is 10% of fathers might not seem like a high amount to folks, but 10% of fathers suffer from postpartum depression. So if you see a dad, a friend, and that is a parent, a partner, just know if you start seeing some self-isolation throughout the process, if you see them not being able to build that relationship with the child, you see them being a bit more angry, taking on, finding a bit more enjoyment and substances to distract themselves, it's really important that the conversation is had. It's really important that folks make themselves aware. Easier said than done, because it's not a very easy conversation to have, because in society, like, the fathers are expected to often be stoic, right? They don't necessarily seek help, and vulnerability is a bit tough. Maybe the only time you cried is when you carried the baby in front of somebody. But then, even then, you probably try to not ugly cry and try to just drop a tear and then just rub it off. So I wanted to start with that because I don't think we wouldn't understand that piece. We don't really understand what it is to take care of ourselves as providers. If you want to be a provider, cool, but you still have to take care of yourself mentally, right? And living by stereotypes could be super harmful, because we end up isolating ourselves, not really emotionally, but mentally and physically, right? That we just become cold and days could get really dark, right? And it might not happen. The darkness might not happen overnight, but it can happen. And I wouldn't want that to happen to folks, because you start feeling like a lesser version of yourself, speaking from experience. You also start essentially moving yourself away from a family that you worked so hard to build. So please, if these are things that you have seen or that have come to mind from yourself or somebody else, please take care of yourself. So now, jump right into it. One of the things that people forget about mental health is that there's so many aspects to it, and we think that it's a singular solution. It's not necessarily true, because the state of mental health is truly about just experience this, how they impact your psyche and how you respond. At least from my perspective, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist either, but that's how I view it, right? My mindset when it comes to mental health is like, how can I set myself up every single day to be successful and to be the best man I can be every single day, right? Or the best partner I can be every single day, the best father I can be every single day, no matter the title that you give yourself, right? It's really important that we think about, how do I put the best foot forward every single time, one of the things that always hit me is my firstborn was born during COVID. So it was a huge isolation period. So it was really hard. One, I didn't see my wife often because we couldn't visit at the same time. When my wife delivered Landon, I had to leave. They couldn't see him for 2 weeks, right? So what did I do? I went back. He did, right? Because I was like, I feel useless right now, right? So what can I do? I gotta start taking care of myself, get my mind, exercise regularly. May that be the trend, no. Nobody wants you to become a bodybuilder. Nobody's going to you to do it to lose weight, right? I'm just saying that give yourself a chance to be released with whatever's in your head, whatever's in your heart. It doesn't mean you have to go to Planet Fitness. I mean, it could be you could take a mile walk around the block, release your mind. Walking around the block might be good for you because if you need to let out a cry, you need to let out a cry. What I would say is to something that definitely helped me in terms of like my energy level was being mindful of how I ate, because I was also vegan at the time. So it was a little bit easier. I noticed that during my stay at the hospital, the days I ate fried food and I felt heavier, I wanted to do less to him. Not that I actually did those things, right? Not that I did less. It was just that's how I felt. But also I felt even more useless because it made me feel heavy, right? So being mindful of like how to make yourself feel refreshed at every single moment that you can. Easier said than done, because sometimes people like to stress eat. That's just something that folks have. Sometimes there's a trauma response, and that's something that we have to like be mindful of. And I think that's just something that's really important for us to be mindful of when we think about prioritizing self-care. Right? Because when you take care of, the cliche word is take care of your temple, right? You notice that you at least have some sort of energy, something to think about, something to look forward to, rather than just sitting idle and just pushing yourself to the brink of no comeback. And with that too, self-care, I'm gonna get to this later. Self-care does not only need to be healthy lifestyle, right? It could also be highly civilian. I'm gonna get to that. And listen, if you are not aware of Groupon, right? A lot of us have a lot of tension in our bodies. Get yourself on Groupon. Book a massage. There's a few good ones in Yonkers. There's some good ones downtown and some good ones by Morris Park, right? Get yourself a little Groupon discount. Get on that bed. Let somebody give you a dope wave massage for an hour. You will feel brand new, right? You might snore. They don't care. Give them an extra tip and they won't even laugh at you. So that's something that you need to think about. We need to start off with that because self-care is super important, right? And when we think about, I think it is a saying, as a former baseball player, they used to say, you look good, you feel good, you play good. Listen, I was broke. For me, looking good was, I was able to get a free haircut from my brother. My uniform was clean. My mom was able to get me new cleats. I felt like a new. The same thing with like your person, right? If that thing is manicures, pedicures, right? You're talking about $40. And if that makes you feel good, right? Just closing your eyes, let somebody clean you up. Listen, do it, right? It's the small things. I'd never limit yourself. Come with some nice gel, last you a week. You're feeling like $1 million every single time you put some motion on your hair that you're washing. Right? That might bring a spot to your face that you need it. And within that, I think, that's how you stay connected, right? Sometimes you might be lucky enough where at the massage parlor or the nail spa, you might have somebody to talk to and just release, right? Because sometimes they're there to just literally listen to people. And if you've been to a Dominican barber, you know that your haircut's supposed to be 25 minutes, but your barber lasts an hour because they just had a beastie conversation. So you know that if you feel like a traditional space of talking about your mental health is too much, there's a lot of small holes in which you can find yourself alleviating stress. I think it's also important to think about your village and your community. I know I personally hit up my older brother Loth, Jonathan and Meard, my best friends. I hit them up if I'm having a hard time. We hit each other up if we're having a hard time. And that's enough for me because they might give me validation that I need in the moment. And it might not be the psychoanalytical behavior therapist level, but it's like a reminder of who the fuck are you. And that's just something that we need sometimes. And although they might not be parents, although we might not be parents, all of them might not be parents, I think it's really important to get perspectives of like how people view you so you can stay grounded. So that I think that's something that's really important. For my folks that are a bit extroverted or willing to open out in different spaces, there's actually a lot of support groups that may allow you to talk it out with fathers who are also dealing with certain feelings within the mental health realm. I personally want to make this podcast feel like it's a support group. Maybe, Lord, you can't talk bad. Maybe in the comments. That's why I'm also doing a community series on our Instagram, which you will see a post about soon, because I want folks to feel like, oh shit, I'm not alone. These are the questions I've actually been asking myself, or I've been dying for someone to ask me that question. Let me jot this down and express myself and maybe actually share it with Lito, and Lito could share it with the world. So everybody could also see that they're not alone in this mindset. So I think in taking those 2 steps, it's really dope. But also, I think I spoke about it in the first season. You're staying connected. I want us to sometimes go back to a person, place or thing that allows you to be you, right? When you date back and say, I am the best version of myself here because. For a person, I think back to a therapist who was this one man working out of the projects, Jefferson Projects on 116th, and I was very intrigued about why he wanted to help. And something about him that I really appreciated was he saw the style of conversation I wanted and he gave it to me. And it's really important that you get that because sometimes you need to name what you need. And if you don't mean that, you don't necessarily know what you're going to get. So sometimes you can be like, I need advice, I need an ear, I need someone to talk to in general. And then you might get that. So when you think back to your person, think back to who just sat there and that was an ear. Think about who sat there and gave you a hug after. Think about the person who gave you advice. Think about the person who pushed you to think about this and take care of yourself, because that might allow you to come back to who you are as a person and how you need to be moving forward. The reason why I'm not mentally child much yet is because at the end of the day, you can't be the parent you want to be if you don't take care of yourself. So we'll get to that part. We're parents, right? We also have these crazy expectations of where we want to be and how we want to do it. And sometimes what we don't want to, sometimes we don't want to accept the failure of it or how unrealistic it is. So I think first thing you need to do is let the ego go. That's all right, because sometimes you need ego to push forward. And I don't think it's a contradiction to the first episode, first episode of season 2, where I say be confident, be assertive, because I don't think it's the same. But what I would say is let ego go, but also be confident enough to accept your imperfections as a parent and as a person. Because if you can't do that, it's going to be difficult to move forward, because if you don't accept those imperfections, it's going to be tough to be in control, because you're always going to be controlled by the idea of something that's not working. And you'll never be able to properly dissect your progress, because all you think about is those imperfections. You think about the negative more than the positive. Right. I think about a friend of mine who's also a former coworker, Maddie B, who always brought this to our meetings, is what's your penny of the day? And when they said that, I thought about sometimes you think about the day and you just want to have a full fulfilled day, but you forget about that little thing. And that little thing can literally make your day, your month, your year, the moment. So when we accept those imperfections and it allows us to really have an outlook on how we can improve it and the steps that we need to take. And in talking about steps, we need to do a better job at setting steps that allow us to be successful. I think when you take large leaps of faith, um, they're leaps for a reason, right? Okay, well, Bo, you know what game I'm thinking about? Crash Bandicoot. Let's go back to Crash Bandicoot. Wow, I'm Asian master Felipe. In Crash Bandicoot, there's moments where you have to do a double jump to get somewhere. Sometimes you just don't have it in you and you fall into the hole, and then you have to start again and you lose a leg. There's then moments where you notice that before planning that double jump, you might need to break a box, right? You might need to do something here or there in order to fully prep yourself to do that double jump. And I think that's how we should look at life. What small steps do we need to take before we get to the larger goals that we have? And you may be like, but my goal is already small. All right, how can we make it smaller? How can we make it that much more granular? Is we think about the small goal, a small goal. And let's keep it simple. As a parent, sometimes you find it hard to really push yourself to do something that you miss. So let's go with reading. As simple as that. You would say, let's say you have a hefty book, want to finish it within 2 weeks, right? There are some days where you want to promise yourself, oh, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get this done. Now, you might not have that flexibility, right? So what can you do? You can give yourself increments. You can say, I'm going to read a chapter a day. I'm going to read for 30 minutes a day. And remember, and let's say you don't have full 30 minutes in a sitting, do it in increments. I'm going to read for 10 minutes, see how many pages I get. Read for 10 minutes, how many pages I get. I know that sounds annoying, but when you do those small things, next thing you know, you're looking up and the book is done. And you're proud of yourself for finishing that book. When you do that, you're giving yourself the opportunity to like set yourself up for success because you're accomplishing something, even if it's small. I think back to that motivational video from that Navy SEAL who gave a speech at the graduation of the University of Texas, and he said, let the first thing that you do to start your day is make your bed. Because if that's your first goal on the day and that's the first thing that you do, you've already accomplished something. And when you do that, you put yourself in a situation where you're already starting your day much happier, in a much better place. That you're like, all right, I already checked something off. I'm ready to go. What's next? I don't know if you have your to-do list on your reminders or on your to-do list on your phone, if you have it written down on a piece of Post-it note, if you have it on your refrigerator, whatever it may be, it's there. It's up to you to make sure you take the action to accomplish it. But those small goals lead to big ones and some happiness along the way. You're giving yourself that benefit of the doubt. All right. And this next piece, I think it goes back to what I was saying in terms of self-care. It's engaging in activity you enjoy, right? Let's say if you're a parent that has a bit more time and you know your child's sleeping schedule already. Shout out to you if you were able to get that done. Those are some of the hardest things to do. Sleeping schedule for a child is not the easiest thing, right? Let's say you have a wiggle rule from 7 to 9. And you make a schedule with your partner. If you're a single parent and if you have a caretaker to help you with it, or if you're at home, right? Let's say you like boxing, and you find a gym that closes at 9 p.m. You better sign up. Fine. There's a lot of gyms that are still economic, right? A lot of gyms now are $200 an hour a week, or a month. Sorry. Then there are many who are still 60. Not many, but they are still many. Something that I want us to think about is like, why do we need to do that stuff when I'm so jam-packed? You're giving yourself a chance to separate, right? Because that's the episode that I'm going to do that talks about having an identity outside of parenthood. Because yes, you are a parent, but you're so much more than that. From our folks who don't necessarily want to do anything crazy physical and say, yo, I want to play my video games. That's perfectly fine. Give yourself a little space where the child might be sleeping in one space. You have the camera volume next to the remote. You're laying off your remote and you're playing video games, put the monitor a little bit down and you still feel happy because you're passing a mission while still being a great parent. Because those two things can exist while coexist. So please be mindful you can still do the things that you love, maybe not at the rate that you wanted to. Maybe we used to play what? When I still lived with my mom in my old room before Landon came, and then I'm at Woolhead. I was easily on a weekend where I wasn't playing sports, I could average 3 to 5 hours on a video read. Maybe it's not the same, and we still wish we had that, but I'm sure hours still goes a long way. So just please push yourself to do those things. And if you have no hobbies, try and find one. May that be taking pictures of nature, of people, of yourself. Maybe thinking about starting a new book, even if you're not a reader. There might be books out there that might push you to become one. Watch a sport. Get a binge. Find a show that you can binge watch. Right? It's those days that some people will be like, oh, that's just waste time. No, it's whatever works for you, because in reality, you need your mental to be okay. Because if your mental's not okay, you will see it impacting your child. How so, Carlos? You know those moments when your child literally might just walk past you and you did something, they didn't do it, and then you just scream at them? That's why. So just understanding that you need to really push yourself to be more than just a parent. Okay. This one is really important because it coexists with like your habits and understanding and accepting your imperfections, and that's understanding your capacity. What do I mean by that? What can I control and what I cannot control, and how do I say no? Sometimes some of us, I guess, people, we put ourselves in a situation when we end up so stressed out that we're not in a good mood. We are often angry, annoyed. We indeed put ourselves in situations where we know we're not happy. So I think just understanding that you need a balance, right? If you have a job that's very demanding, what's the work-life balance? Where are you putting the stop? Are you going to be leaving your laptop on home at work instead of being at home? Nobody's able to ask you to check your email at 9 p.m. when you're already done at 5. Or so you don't continue working on a project that you could do the next day. So small things like that, you can improve your capacity or understanding of your capacity, because now you are putting yourself in a situation where you can better acquaint yourself to what your needs are. Because when we have the days that we have to do in front of us, we tend to be blindsided and just focus on doing it. I know I'm guilty of sometimes my son will be asking me something and I'm like, I have to work. In reality, I didn't have to work. That was just me trying to get stuff out the way to try and create work-life balance. And it still didn't work. So let's be mindful of how we do that. But also what I would say is life balance, because remember that, and this is more for folks who might be in a relationship or married or with their partner or in a co-parenting situation. And it's whatever happens within that, you have to balance it, because what you don't want to do is bring it to the child, because children remember that. That creates trauma, something that we're trying to break. So please be mindful that you need to create a balance within yourself in order for it to not impact your child, because then when it impacts your child, it impacts you. And when it impacts you, he's going full circle, Mags. All right. Oh, this is the goods. So mental health ends up being one of those things where you will have many avenues that you can take. I already said, finding the balance, hobbies, self-care. Some of us are in a much tougher space where we need professional help, where we need support in getting like the practices we need to be successful for ourselves. So the conversation around therapy and counseling always comes up. Right? Some of us might be able to do it in a traditional office. That's not for everybody. Not everybody makes you sit on the couch and lay back. No, that's not how it always is. Therapy can also be very expensive. Some folks who actually have, depending on your health insurance, most of you might not know this, If you turn it to the back, there's actually a number that you could call that lets you know who takes your insurance for therapy services. That's how that therapy for free. And it ended up being great. I did it for a year and it was super helpful. So that ends up working out for you. Great. There's a lot of also apps that might be able to give you not just therapy, but just counseling in general, because some people might view it differently. If I did think about some apps that do offer some paid services, but are known for more of their paid services, I could think about Talkspace, which is mobile therapy. You might also find the same in BetterHelp, where they match you with a therapist online and you could communicate with them to have your session. If I'm not mistaken, BetterHelp has this dope option. I'm not too sure about Talkspace in terms of this, but BetterHelp has this really cool option where you can actually text your therapist as well and not only necessarily call them over the phone or has a virtual session. So I think that's really dope for folks who might not want to show their face in the moment or will have different needs. So I think that's really cool. Then we have more of the mindfulness, meditation, and sleep support piece. Let's think about apps like Headspace and Calm. They're really good for helping you through mindfulness practices. I think something that's really dope about Headspace, they have this section called Mindful Parenting section, right? I know there was one section that I read about where if your child is going through a tantrum, it's called like Don't Do Tantrum Together, but through this audio that allows you to essentially soothe the child to their own little therapy session or calming session, which I think is really good, or meditation session, because I think we downplay how beneficial that can be for our children. Perfect example, we were offered an opportunity to get out central therapy for anxiety because him living in a hospital for so long, he doesn't do well with people often, and him getting those services, we were like, yes, please. Because once he leaves a specialized school, he's going to have to go to standardized school, and then we want him to be successful there. Difficult to do that with anxiety. Now, for my folks who don't necessarily want to pay for us, so I might not have the services, the financials to do it, right? There's 3 apps that I'm aware of that can support you in 3 different spaces. Healthy Minds, I know, is an app that supports with meditation practices, and it's not, if I'm not mistaken, tracking and day-to-day. MindshiftCBT is an app that focuses on cognitive behaviors. So it helps you through depression and anxiety through like just therapy strategies that allow you to support. Being that it is free, you might not get essentially the mobile therapy that you will find in BetterHelp and Talkspace. And I think it's really dope for the people who have that intrinsic motivation or just have that skill set or who have the bandwidth to put those strategies to work themselves. I think is a truly a beneficial piece for themselves. And then this last one that I believe is CBTI Touch. So that's for folks with insomnia, right? I know a lot of parents who end up getting insomnia due to sleeping habits being disturbed and like just the trauma from the early stages of birthhood, mothers included. I think it's really dope that there's an application that'll help parents through that, because with insomnia, you might find yourself tired in times and spaces where you're not really able to be tired because you have things to do. So I think it's really important to push that forward. I'll make sure to put links out. I didn't pay for this, but I think it's really important to support folks and give them resources dependent, no matter what like bracket you're in, no matter what you can afford it, what you can't afford. So it's really important that we follow up on these if we need them. And you might be asking, so how can this help me? I think it helped in many ways, but there's 2 that truly come to mind. So that's identifying your triggers. What does that mean? So you have to start digging them out. It doesn't come from nowhere. There's a space where you're literally getting this information and this information is going to your head and these feelings come. But what is it? Sometimes we don't know because we don't care to think about it, but it goes deeper than that. For me, I had this one trigger word for me was stupid. I think when people use the word stupid, because when I was younger and now as someone who's not a native English speaker, as someone who struggled academically, I was called stupid often. right? And when I heard the word stupid around parenting in general, it would trigger me and I would be pissed. And I found myself in ways, or like in thinking of ways of when I was younger. And that's not fun because you don't want to diminish your self-worth, right? So in me knowing that, I started finding like coping strategies that allowed me to n- feel so attached to the word, but I also had the conversations with the people that pushed that word on me. And I also thought about what I was able to accomplish even through that word, right? Even through the idea of someone thinking I was stupid and saying, yo, you know what? Yeah, that word is triggering, but look what you've done. Look what you've accomplished, right? Those two things are identify your triggers, right? And then develop your coping strategies. And I want us to remember, we think small in the world so big, right? Triggers can come from many spaces, right? It can literally be how someone acts around you. It can literally be, like I said, a word someone says, the way someone back parents you, like I said in the last episode, the way your partner might treat you, because it can end up being how a parent treated you or disrespected you or made you feel, right, when you were younger. If you can identify that, you can communicate that, right? And when you get to communicate that, it's okay, I let that on, I let that off, right? The goal is this. The person, yes, has to fix it. If they don't fix it, you got to consider those conversations, or that's just not going to work out because every single time you're going to get upset. So let's just be mindful of that. And I think in doing so, I just gave you a list of acts, right? And like I start with speaking about like how 1 in 10, aka 10% fathers suffer from postpartum depression. You're going to educate yourselves, right? Psychology is ever changing. We're ever changing as people. So if you continue to put yourself in a box in terms of mental health, you're going to struggle, right? Because there's so many resources out there, right? There's so many people with situations similar to yours that will allow you to feel seen. May that be a YouTube, may that be an article, whatever it may be. Just continue to educate yourself. Continue to educate yourself on practices. If you feel like apps are not for you, if therapy is not for you, just think about this. Will try and learn, right, about the signs, about strategies, about what the world is seeing and how that connects to you or something. All right. And then the last one I'm gonna leave you with: be kind to yourself, man. Give yourself verbal hugs, give yourself little affirmations. Make sure you are surround yourself with people who will do the thing for you. Because if you're not good to yourself, nobody's going to be good to you. And then if you're not good to yourself, all you're going to do is think about every negative aspect of how someone might view you. And you might just be psyching yourself out. And you might be like, what do you need? If you talk so negative about yourself, all you're going to think about is how somebody else is also viewing you in the same light. And next thing you might be thinking you're doing a bomb-ass job as a parent, right? Or somebody else might be thinking about that, but you out here thinking you're doing the bare minimum or nothing else. Give yourself love. Give yourself that compassion, because those around you do care. Those around you do love you. Your child loves you. So please be mindful. It's a continuous process. Incorporate as many tips as you want from today into your routine. Manage your stress, improve your well-being, be the best parent you can be. And remember, seeking help is a sign of strength. It's not a weakness. The community got you. And if you ever feel like the videos are not announced, if I'm not mistaken, YouTube allows you to contact me through an email. If that's the case, or through a comment or private comment, let me know. I'm here. Thank you. Peace.